I spent hours writing those letters. Honest ones. About my fears, my past, my love for her. She called them sweet, said no man had ever cared like that. Then I found them. All of them. Screenshotted on her Facebook page. Right next to photos of the gifts I'd sent, with prices tagged underneath. I wasn't looking for love when I clicked on that Facebook Live video. Hell, I wasn't even looking for anything really. Just scrolling through my feed at 2 in the morning, couldn't sleep, and there she was. This young Filipino woman selling cosmetics, talking fast, holding up lip tints and eyeshadow palettes like they were treasures. "Good evening, my loves," she kept saying, grinning at the camera. "Who wants to be beautiful tonight?" I should have closed the app right then, should have gone to bed like a normal 64-year-old man. Instead, I watched her for an hour. She was bubbly, animated, calling everyone in the comments love and sweetheart. When someone bought something, she'd blow a kiss at the screen. "Thank you, love. You're so sweet." That's when I typed my first message. Just a simple, "Hello from Australia." I don't know why I did it. Maybe because she seemed so alive, so full of energy, and I'd been feeling dead inside for months since retiring from the railways. She saw my comment, and her eyes lit up. "Oh my God, Australia. Sir, you're so far away. Thank you for watching. Sir." She called me sir. Something about that word made my chest warm. After the live stream ended, I sent her a private message. "Thanks for the entertainment. Made my night less lonely." I hit send before I could chicken out. She replied within minutes. "Ah, sir, you seem so sweet. What's your name?" I told her. "Trevor McAdams, retired train operator from Perth." She said, "Nice to meet you, Sir Trev. I'm Evelyn. I sell makeup, but I also love making friends." Friends. That's all I wanted, I told myself. Just someone to talk to. "I don't need your money, Sir Trev." She messaged the next day. "I just need your time. You seem like a good person." Those words hit me like a freight train. I believed her. God help me. I believed every single word. The next week, I watched all her live streams. I even bought a few small things, lip balm, a compact mirror, just to support her hustle, I told myself. But it felt like more than that. She started calling me every night after she logged off from selling. "Sir Trev, how was your day?" she'd ask, her voice soft and caring. "Tell me about Australia. Tell me about your life." I'd talk about the trains, the tracks stretching across the outback, the loneliness since my wife passed 3 years ago. She listened. She actually listened. "You have such a kind heart," she'd whisper through the phone. "I can feel it even from here." That's when I knew I was in trouble. But I didn't care. For the first time in years, I felt seen. I felt chosen. I hadn't written a love letter since I was 25 years old, courting my late wife Margaret. But something about Evelyn pulled that old romantic part of me back out of hiding. It started with an email. Just one paragraph, really. "Evelyn, I know we've only been talking for a few weeks, but you've brought light into my days. Your laugh reminds me that joy still exists in this world. Thank you for seeing something good in an old railway man like me." I sent it at midnight, then immediately regretted it. Too much, too soon. But she replied within an hour. "Sir Trev, oh my God, you're so deep, sir. No man has ever written me words like this. It makes my heart so soft. Heart so soft." I read those words a dozen times. So I wrote more. I started handwriting them on good paper, the kind Margaret used for thank you cards. I'd scan them and attach them to small gifts I'd send through remittance. A silver necklace with a heart pendant, a stuffed koala from the Perth Zoo gift shop. Even a prepaid Gcash card with a handwritten note that said, "This isn't for bills, Ivy. This is just for joy. Buy something that makes you smile." She called me one night, crying, "Sir Trev, why are you so good to me? I don't deserve this kindness." "Everyone deserves kindness," I told her. "Especially someone who brings happiness to others every single day." "You're different from other men," she whispered. "Most guys just want to video call, you know? Want to see my body. But you care about my mind, my heart. Different." I thought that meant I was winning. I thought that meant she was falling for me the way I was falling for her. I wrote longer letters after that. Pages about my childhood in Adelaide, about losing my parents, about the decades I spent watching landscapes blur past train windows, thinking about life and love and loneliness. "Your letters make me cry happy tears," she messaged. No one has ever cared enough to share their soul like this. Their soul. She said I was sharing my soul. And I was. Every word, every story, every vulnerable confession. I was pouring myself onto paper and sending it halfway around the world to a woman who made me feel alive again. I thought we were building something real. Something beautiful. Something that distance and age and circumstance couldn't touch. I thought the letters were the foundation of our love story. I was wrong about so many things. She'd disappear sometimes. Not for long. Just a day or two. But long enough to make my heart race with worry. Sorry, Sir Trev. She'd message when she came back online. Wi-Fi was down again. This province, you know, very poor connection. Or it would be family drama. Her mother was sick. Her brother needed money for school. Emergency after emergency, and every time I'd offer to help, she'd refuse. No, sir, you've done enough already. I just need prayers. I'd send the prayers and the money anyway. She'd accept both with gratitude that felt genuine. You have such a big heart, Sir Trev. God sent you to me, I think. One afternoon, she posted a photo on her Facebook page. She was holding the silk scarf I'd sent, turquoise blue with gold trim, beautiful against her dark hair. The caption read, "Thank you for spoiling me, Sir Trev. Some people just have pure hearts." My chest swelled with pride. She was showing me off, telling her world that someone cared about her. Someone loved her. But then I saw the comment underneath. Some guy named Rico wrote, "Another foreigner? Ivy, how many now?" My blood went cold. Before I could screenshot it, the comment disappeared. Deleted. When I called her that night, I brought it up casually. Saw some jealous guy commenting on your photo today. "Oh, Sir Trev, don't mind them," she laughed. "People here are so bitter. They see a girl getting gifts from a kind man, and they think bad things. They don't understand that some foreigners are just good people with good hearts. Good people with good hearts." The way she said it made me feel special again, chosen again. I let it go. I should have asked more questions. Should have wondered why someone would comment about how many if I was the only one. Should have noticed that she knew exactly which comment I meant without me describing it. Should have wondered why she deleted it so quickly. Instead, I sent her another letter that week. This one about trust, about how rare it was to find someone who saw past surface things like age and nationality to the person underneath. "You see my heart, Ivy?" I wrote. Not my gray hair or my wrinkled hands or my Australian accent, just my heart. That's why I trust you with my stories, my feelings, my love. She called it beautiful. She called it perfect. She called it the most romantic thing anyone had ever written, and I believed every word of praise, just like I'd ignored every red flag. The heart sees what it wants to see, I guess. Mine wanted to see love. So that's all I saw. The message came from a stranger. Andy Morrison, according to his Facebook profile. An older guy from Sydney, looked to be about my age. "Mate," his message began. "I found your name in Evelyn's friend list. We need to talk. I think we're both being played." I stared at the words for a full minute before responding. "I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about. Check your messages. I'm sending you something." What he sent made my world collapse. A screenshot of a group chat. 4 Filipino women, including Evelyn, sharing photos and laughing. The header read, "Foreign Boys Update." I zoomed in, hands shaking. There was my name, Trevor McAdams. Right next to a photo of one of my handwritten letters, the one where I'd told her about my father's death, how I'd held his hand in the hospital and promised to live a good life. The most vulnerable thing I'd ever written to anyone. Underneath the photo, Evelyn had typed, "Got this with the silver necklace, $85 AUD. This guy writes like a romance novel." The crying laughing emoji. She'd responded to my pain with a crying laughing emoji. But it got worse. I scrolled through the other screenshots Andy had sent. Messages from the group chat spanning months. Photos of gifts from different foreign men. Prices listed like inventory. Mark from Canada, $200 watch plus long email about his divorce. Johan from Germany, $150 perfume plus handwritten poetry. Cringe, but sweet. Trevor, from Australia, various gifts, around $400 total so far. Best love letters though, very dramatic. My chest burned. I felt like I was having a heart attack. Every word I'd written, every feeling I'd shared, every vulnerable moment I'd trusted her with, it was all just content for their group chat. Entertainment. I was entertainment. Andy, how did you get these screenshots? I typed with trembling fingers. One of the girls in the chat is my friend's ex, he replied. She felt bad and sent them to him. He passed them to me. Figured you deserved to know. Deserved to know. Yeah, I deserved to know that the woman I'd fallen in love with saw me as a walking ATM with a poetry hobby. That my letters, my heart spilled out on paper, were joke material for her and her friends. That every Sir Trev and you're so sweet and you're different was just part of the performance. I closed Facebook and sat in my kitchen for hours, staring at the stack of letter copies I'd kept. My own words staring back at me, mocking me. All those nights I'd spent crafting sentences, choosing the perfect words to express my feelings, staying up until dawn because I wanted each letter to be perfect for her. She'd screenshotted them like shopping receipts, listed them like merchandise, shared them like gossip. My love had become their comedy show. I didn't tell her I was coming. Didn't book accommodations or make plans. Just got on a plane to Manila, then another to Bohol, running on rage and heartbreak and the desperate need for answers. I found the cafe she'd mentioned in her stories, Morning Glory Coffee, down a side street in Tagbilaran City, where she said she worked part-time serving tourists. She was there. Of course she was there. But she wasn't serving coffee. She was sitting at a corner table with a man I didn't recognize. White guy, maybe 40, holding her hand across the table like they were on a date. She was laughing at something he'd said, the same bright, bubbly laugh I'd fallen in love with over video calls. I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her perform the same act she'd performed for me. The same head tilts, the same giggles, the same way of touching his arm when she wanted to emphasize a point. Then I walked over. Evelyn. She looked up, and for just a second I saw real shock in her eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by that familiar smile. Sir Trev. Oh my God, what are you doing here? The man across from her raised an eyebrow. This is Trevor, she told him quickly. My Australian friend I told you about. Friend. I was her friend now. Why'd you post my letters? I asked. Straight to the point. No pleasantries, no small talk. Post your letters? She blinked, tilting her head like she didn't understand. Sir, what do you mean? The group chat, Ivy, the screenshots, the prices next to my gifts. Her face changed then. The mask slipped just enough for me to see the calculation behind her eyes. She glanced at the man beside her, then back at me. Sir Trev, you seem upset. Maybe you should sit down. We can talk. Were any of the words real? I interrupted. Any of the calls, the messages, the Sir Trev, you're so sweet. Was any of it real? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, you were sweet, sir. Very sweet. But maybe too emotional, you know? Too intense. Too emotional. 3 years after losing my wife, I'd finally opened my heart again, and I was too emotional. I asked if it was real, Ivy. You knew what this was. She said, her voice getting firmer. I never promised you anything serious. We were friends. You wanted to send gifts. I said thank you. I never asked you to fall in love. The man beside her was smirking now, like he was enjoying the show, like this was entertaining to him too. So the letters meant nothing? They were sweet, she repeated. But Sir Trev, you're in Australia. I'm here. You're old. I'm young. What did you think was going to happen? What did I think was going to happen? I thought human connection meant something. I thought kindness mattered. I thought when someone says you're different and you have a pure heart and God sent you to me, it meant something more than a transaction. But looking at her sitting there, holding another man's hand while explaining why my love was unrealistic, I finally understood. I was never different. I was just another customer in her shop. And love letters were just another product she sold. I walked out without saying goodbye. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely unlock my phone to call a taxi. Behind me, I heard her laugh again, that same bright, bubbly sound that had first made me believe in magic. It wasn't magic, it was just marketing. On the flight home, I did the math. Pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and tallied every transaction I'd sent to the Philippines in the past 12 months. Remittances to her GCash account. Online shopping deliveries to her address in Bohol. Money transfers for emergencies that seemed to happen every month. The gifts alone came to nearly 2,000 Australian dollars. Silver jewelry, clothing, perfumes, electronics, stuffed animals from Australian souvenir shops. Then there were the cash transfers, $500 for her mother's medicine, $300 for her brother's school fees, $200 for Wi-Fi installation so we could video call more often, $50 here, $100 there, for small emergencies that she swore she'd pay back someday. Never asked for it back though, never even expected it. I was just happy to help someone I loved. By the time the plane landed in Perth, I had the final number, $3,247 AUD, over $3,000 in 1 year. To a woman who saw me as a walking ATM with attachment issues. But the money wasn't even the worst part, it was the time. The hours I'd spent crafting those letters, choosing each word carefully, sharing stories from my childhood and my marriage and my dreams for the future. The nights I'd stayed awake, worrying when she didn't respond, wondering if she was sick or hurt or just busy. The mornings I'd wake up excited to see her messages, the afternoons I'd spend looking forward to our evening calls. I'd given her a year of my life, a year of hope and affection and genuine care. And she'd turned it all into content for her group chat. Trevor writes like a romance novel. That line kept replaying in my head. My grief over losing Margaret, my fears about growing old alone, my tentative hope that maybe love could find me again, all of it was just comedy material for her and her friends. I deleted everything when I got home. Every email, every photo, every screenshot of our conversations, cleared my browser history, unfriended her on Facebook, blocked her number, tried to erase every trace of what I'd thought was love, but what was really just elaborate customer service. But I couldn't delete the shame. Couldn't block the voice in my head asking how I'd been so stupid, so blind, so desperately lonely that I'd mistaken a sales pitch for romance. The worst part was, I wasn't even angry at her anymore. I was angry at myself, because deep down, underneath all the hurt and embarrassment, I knew the truth. I'd ignored every warning sign, every red flag, every moment that felt off, every comment that got deleted too quickly. I'd pushed it all aside because I wanted the fairy tale more than I wanted the truth. I'd bought hope for $3,247 and discovered it wasn't for sale after all. I couldn't sleep for weeks after getting back to Perth. Every night, I'd lie in bed replaying conversations, looking for clues I'd missed, wondering when exactly I'd stop being a person to her and become just another revenue stream. 3 weeks after the confrontation, curiosity got the better of me. I created a fake Facebook account, just to see, I told myself, just to understand. Her page was more active than ever. Daily live streams, constant posting, dozens of comments from men whose names I recognized from her friend list, Mark from Canada, Johan from Germany, others I hadn't known about. We were all there, orbiting around her like satellites, thinking we were special. The post that broke me was from Valentine's Day. Live tonight, Valentine promo, gifts from foreign friends, it read, with photos spread out below like a catalog. I zoomed in on each image, my heart sinking further with every familiar item. My silver necklace with the heart pendant, the turquoise scarf she'd worn so beautifully in her profile photo, the stuffed koala I'd bought at Perth Zoo, thinking she'd love having, something authentically Australian. And there, partially obscured but unmistakable, was one of my handwritten letters. The text was blurred for privacy, but I knew my own handwriting. I knew the blue ink I'd used, the careful cursive I'd practiced to make it look nice for her. Below each photo was a price. Silver necklace, 2,500 pesos. Silk scarf, 1,800 pesos. Koala plush, 900 pesos. Love letter bundle, 350 pesos. Slightly used but very sweet. Slightly used. She was selling my love letters as slightly used merchandise. The words I'd agonized over, the feelings I'd poured out, the most honest parts of my heart, all of it marked down for clearance like last season's inventory. 350 pesos. About 12 Australian dollars. That's what a year of my emotional investment was worth in her marketplace. The comments under the post made it worse. Ang sweet Naman letters. Who wrote these? So romantic. Puede pa reserve young necklace. They were shopping for my grief. Bidding on my loneliness. Commenting on my vulnerability like it was entertainment. That's when I finally understood what had happened to me. I hadn't been scammed in the traditional sense. My money wasn't stolen. It was spent exactly as intended. I'd bought a service, and the service was delivered perfectly. Companionship, attention, the illusion of being loved. Evelyn had been a professional the entire time, and I'd been the client who forgot he was paying for a performance. She'd never lied about loving me back. She'd just let me believe what I wanted to believe while I funded her lifestyle and provided content for her real life. The girl in the group chat, laughing about my dramatic letters. The woman holding another man's hand in the cafe, calling me too emotional. The entrepreneur selling my heart to the highest bidder. They were all the same person. I'd just been too lonely to see it. I write now, not love letters to women who see me as a walking wallet. Not emotional confessions to people who turn feelings into merchandise. I write to myself. Letters I'll never send, never share, never post online. Letters where I tell the truth about loneliness and aging, and the desperate human need for connection. Letters where I admit I was vulnerable, not stupid, heartbroken, not worthless, taken advantage of, not inherently flawed. I write about Margaret sometimes, my wife of 38 years, who never once made me feel like my love was too much or too dramatic or too emotional, who read my poetry and kept my letters and saw my heart as something precious, not profitable. I'd forgotten what real love felt like until I experienced the counterfeit version. I write about the railway too. All those years watching the Australian landscape roll past, thinking about life and time and the way people move through each other's worlds. I thought I understood something about human nature from all that observing, all that solitude and reflection. Turns out I understood the scenery better than I understood the people. But I'm learning. I keep one letter from the whole Evelyn experience. Not one I wrote to her. One I wrote to myself, afterward. It says, Trevor, you fell in love with a performance. That doesn't make you stupid, it makes you human. Your capacity to care, to hope, to believe in goodness, that's not weakness. That's what makes you worth knowing. Don't let one person's transaction turn your heart into a closed shop. I read it when the shame gets too heavy, when I start believing I deserved what happened, when I wonder if I'll ever trust another person again. The letter reminds me that being fooled by someone skilled in deception says more about them than it does about me. I still have stories to tell, feelings to share, love to give. Just not to people who see emotions as inventory and letters as slightly used merchandise. I write about hope now too. Not the desperate kind that makes you send money to strangers or believe pretty words from people who profit from loneliness. The quiet kind that trusts in genuine human connection while staying alert to counterfeit versions. The kind that knows the difference between being loved and being marketed to. The kind that doesn't need to travel halfway around the world to find validation. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about me. If she remembers the man who wrote her poetry and shared his deepest fears and sent koala bears across oceans because he wanted to make her smile. Probably not. I was just one account in her portfolio, one character in her performance, one source of income in her business model, but that's okay. I remember both versions of her, the one I fell in love with and the one who actually existed, and I remember both versions of myself too. The lonely old man who confused commerce with romance, and the wiser one who learned the difference. I write to him now. The future Trevor who won't mistake marketing for love, who won't pay premium prices for basic human decency, who knows his worth isn't measured in remittance receipts or gift deliveries, or how much drama someone will tolerate for the right price. That Trevor deserves real love. The kind that doesn't come with price tags or group chat screenshots or Valentine's Day clearance sales. The kind that sees letters as treasures, not merchandise. The kind that would never ever call genuine emotion too dramatic or authentic feeling too intense. That love might come again someday, or it might not. Either way I'll be fine. Because the most important thing I learned from losing $3,247 and gaining wisdom isn't about romance or online relationships or international dating. It's about self-worth. Mine isn't for sale, and it never was.